last week, in the UK, the London and North Eastern Railway, that's the LNER, that's a very famous name from the 19th century, by the way. It was kind of brought back into being in the 1990s when many rail services were privatised. Anyway, the LNER has said its conductors will be warned not to use the greeting "ladies and gentlemen" following a complaint from a non-binary passenger. Before we get started, please remember to hit the subscribe button, to share this video amongst your friends, and please check the links that I will send, and please, are attached and they're in the text box below, please help a little bit. If you like my articles, give me a quid a week. It's not very much. You can do it through PayPal or one of a number of other ways. We've got a low price tier on Patreon, and you can just do that. The more expensive tiers, by the way, for those who are on them, you'll be seeing dedicated material on that tier within the next week or so. I'm working on it right now. Anyway, to get on with the story. LNER said train managers should not use the phrase to avoid offending passengers who might identify as neither male nor female. Well, everybody is either male or female. Everybody. There's no way around that one. You're either XX or XY, apart from a very small number of intersex people, and these people that we're talking about here are not intersex. They're just posers, okay? And it comes, this, according to, this is the London Evening Standard, comes after a complaint from a passenger on social media, reported to the Daily Telegraph. In a Twitter post directed at LNER, the passenger wrote, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls." Unquote. As a non-binary person, this announcement doesn't actually apply to me, so I won't listen. What a pretentious prat. LNER replied to the complainant, agreeing that train managers should not be using language like this. What utter nonsense. We've been using the term ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for, I don't know now, probably hundreds of years. What right does some self-interested, self-obsessed, media-seeking, attention-seeking twally have to change that? The answer is absolutely none at all. And even more shocking, is that LNER actually entertained him. And it is him, by the way. I don't care what you think your fucking pronouns are. You're a he, and the pronoun is him, right? I've seen your picture. And then they even said to this minker, could you let me know which service you are on, and I will ensure they remain as inclusive as we strive to be at LNER, said one of its spokesmen. In a later statement, LNER confirmed that the use of the phrase would be examined, adding it was committed to diversity and inclusion in all that we do for our customers, colleagues and communities. What they don't understand, is that when you submit to these people and their ludicrous ideas, you're offending everyone else. I'm offended. Anybody who is normal would be offended, because we all know there's no such thing as non-binary. You're either XX or XY, and that's it. Some people, okay, a very small number, maybe 1 in 20,000, maybe as much as even 1 in 1,000, are XXY, or maybe XXY, or XYY, or something like that. But it's a tiny number, and we do not use these tiny numbers, sympathetic though we may be to them, to establish standards. And furthermore, they're not complaining about this sort of thing. They really are not. This is a bunch of leftist wallies who think that they can annoy other people enough to get some attention. That's all it is. And could you actually believe that there is such a thing as an LGBTQ railway alliance? I would never have thought it. Anyway, an operator was seated next to the complainant at the time of the announcement, who, by the way, I believe also identifies as non-binary, said, I was sat with Lawrence when this tweet was sent. And both of us are non-binary, and we are both alarmed and uncomfortable by the lack of inclusion. How could you possibly be alarmed? Did the guy come along the carriage and say, look, I'm going to beat up all the people who don't agree that they're male or female? No, he was just being polite. He was being normal. Normal. And you people have to understand, you are not normal. And it's time we told you that and stopped you. Both Lawrence and I were ourselves customers of the railway. Being rail staff does not absolve an operator of the duty of care or responsibility to be inclusive. What responsibility to be inclusive? When did it ever say that we have to be inclusive? Nowhere. Free speech means free speech. And then you go, we shouldn't be having these conversations behind closed doors. So no, what they want to do is recommend a man's career, shame him publicly, and cause him no end of trouble, all because a pair of twits were mildly offended about something that wasn't even offensive. It's just incredible, you know. We're really proud of how well LNER's social media team have been dealing with the continued backlash against their support for inclusive language yesterday. It's awful, just awful, that some people still consider everyone is welcome, included, to be a radical and offensive treatment. Well, it's not. The people who are being radical and offensive here are the non-binaries, or the alleged non-binaries, because non-binary doesn't exist. Another customer said that they found the phrase rather lovely, which it is. I travel regularly with you, and being greeted by a driver with a cheery "Morning, ladies and gentlemen," is not offensive. It's rather lovely. Gosh, the voice of reason. You know, you thought that had absolutely disappeared, didn't you? LNER fortunately said that the person who said this would be encouraged to issue announcements with no gender mentioned in future, but he would not face any disciplinary action. And I should bloody think not either. Mark Jenkinson, the Conservative MP for Workington, said, "You'd be forgiven for thinking this train manager had unleashed a tirade of abuse." Absolutely. He had actually said, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Identify how you like, but can we stop this nonsense? Yes, please. Could we please stop this absolute nonsense? I mean, what are they going to say? Good morning, humans? Good afternoon, humans? And little humans? It's absolutely ridiculous. Apparently, can you believe it? Instead of he or she, non-binary, which doesn't exist by the way, people sometimes prefer to be referred to by gender-neutral pronouns such as they or z. Z is not even a word. That's Z-I-E. It's not even a word. It doesn't exist. This is all complete baloney. And we need to stop it. You know, I'm not saying that we should be offensive to people, but we just need to say, yeah, we'll put up with you. We're going to be happy. We're not going to beat you up. Do what you like. But don't interfere with the normal running of normal society, because you're not part of it. Just because you're not part of society is not something we did. You excluded yourselves by these ridiculous political standpoints that you take. And there's nothing innate about someone calling themselves non-binary. It's a purely political position. Purely. It has no actual meaning. It doesn't exist. Anyway, enough of that one. Tatty bye-bye.